Welcome back, everyone. I've been a bit busy of late, and it has affected my release schedule, but I wanted to show you some new techniques today. You will see from my other videos, I like to keep things simple and hopefully reduce the number of steps to complete a project. Therefore, I try to keep all of my instructional videos focused in Slicer. Sure, you can use other CAD programs, but if you can do 90% or more in one place, why not take advantage of the tools afforded us? I will make some big assumptions right now. One, you've been watching some of my other videos. If not, I would at least give this one a look. Two, you're eager to learn a new technique, and for that, thank you for being here. Three, you're interested in making form-fitting tops. This is the version of Bamboo Studio I am using, and we will be applying negatives and Mesh Boolean tools. So let's begin. Okay, so let's go over the basic steps. So let's create a simple primitive, and we will start with cube. And we'll make this gray. And I'll make this slightly larger than the default, so we'll do 30 by 30. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm actually just going to start with a clone. So we'll right click and clone this. And let's make this a different color. We'll start with white. Now, usually what I like to do, since we're going to essentially make a top for this, let's hollow this out. Now, there's a few ways to hollow things out, but we're going to use Mesh Boolean. So the first thing we're going to do is basically take this cube here. So this will be our main one. This is the one we're going to use to hollow it out. We're going to go to our scale tool, and we'll set this to, we'll do 25 by 25. All right, fairly straightforward. And I am going to right click and we're going to center this. And then we'll do the same thing for the gray cube. So right click and center. Look at the bottom and you'll see that that bottom piece is essentially inside of the main piece. And we're going to combine these. So hold shift, select both of them, and then we're going to right click and assemble. All right, now that they're assembled, we'll go and switch over to objects process. We see the two items. So we have the gray cube, have the white cube, and we're actually just going to right click and we will change the type of the white cube to a negative. You can also do the other Mesh Boolean where you can subtract one part from another, but this part is fine as well. All right. And now what we can do, we can right click and go to Mesh Boolean. And what happens there is we just hollowed this out. I'll flip this around. So we can basically just go lay on face and it's flipped. And we've just made a permanent change to that. All right, let's go to the next step. And from here, I'm actually going to just clone this again. Now, all in all, I could have made another clone, but I want to go through each of the steps. I only really need a small portion of this, so I'm actually just going to cut it. And bring this down to about here. So, I'm going to cut it right where the hollow portion starts. And perform the cut. And we actually don't even need this part anymore. Click that. And bye-bye to this. And I probably should have cut that a little. I want this flush, so we'll just do another cut. Actually, to be fair, it doesn't really matter, so we'll just perform the cut. Because we can always enlarge later or shrink. Delete too much. Click that, and away you go. Cool. All right, so now, this is the same size as this. Just not in the Z height. So we're going to double check, make sure we're centered. Double check here, make sure that we are centered. And I'm going to change the color of that that other assembly. We'll make this white again, just so you can see it. All right, now easiest thing to do is if you click on any of your models, you can look at the general size. So you can see your scale. So again, 30 by 30. And then this guy right here is 30, 30, and almost 3. We can actually make this, let's just do 28. Turn off, let me turn off uniform scale. I'm going to leave Z height alone for a moment. So we will set that to 28. Set this to 28. And man, we can make that 2. Doesn't really matter. All right. Now what we can do, we're going to combine these again. And it doesn't matter if they're touching one another when you do the combination. I'm just going to slide this out so you'll see what I mean. So what we're just going to do is just make sure both of them selected. So you can hold Shift, select them both, or hold Control and click them both, and then we will center this. Oops. Go back. Getting ahead of myself. Assemble, then center. So assemble. So now they're both together. We're going to click on one of these, center it. And that's that. Now what we can do here, we can use our Move tool. And we can bring this up. Now what happens here, we actually want to make sure that there's some overlap. So what that means is from here, this will dig in or cut into this part of the model. And we'll make that as flush as possible. Doesn't have to be perfect, but close enough. All right, cool. All right, so now that we know that that fits fine, I'm actually going to make a clone of that piece that we just made. But we're going to do this first. So from here, we can actually right-click. We're going to clone the whole first model. We're going to keep you off to the side. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually just going to make that white piece negative. So right-click, change type, and make you a negative part. So what ends up happening here is when we slice, we've just created a small lip. Now, normally when you add a negative part to something and use Mesh Boolean, you can make a permanent change. Occasionally, we'll run into issues where if we try to make this, so again, that negative part there, and we just right-click and hit Mesh Boolean, you may run into an error message, and it actually doesn't make the actual permanent change. Now, if we leave the negative part there, we're in good shape, not the end of the world. We can still do it that way. Also, what you could try to do, let's change that negative part. We're going to make it a part again. So we'll go to change type, make this a part. So again, same part. And we're going to click on our model. We will then go to Mesh Boolean, the difference. So we want to start with the main piece, which is the big one. We want to then subtract the second piece, which is this one. And we can actually say either delete input or keep it. It's up to you. Then we hit difference. And now that we've done that, let's take this part of the assembly, and I am going to move this out, and we've made the change. So I can't figure out why it happens in certain cases where you can do a negative, then just right-click and hit Boolean, and other times you actually have to do the full-on manual steps. It does happen. The reason why I had you make a separate one of these is depending on if you did Mesh Boolean, you lose this piece, and that's the top. We want to keep this. So I'll keep this around, but we actually have to liberate this one from the main piece of the model. So what we would do there is right-click, and then we would go to split into objects. And now what happens is this drops to the bottom, and now they're independent from one another. So if we had made, again, a permanent change, we would have lost this, in which case we would need this to recover that piece. All right, we're going to move this off. Cool. Now, I have noticed, depending on how tuned your filaments are or how small the item is, you might have a really tight press fit. So what you can do here, and you may have to iterate, you can actually click on your model, the top or the hat, and then you can go to scale and knock it down to like 99% or 98%, whichever works out well for you. Now, if it is a press fit and you get this put into here, you may not be able to easily get it out. So let's make a small handle for it. So what you can do here, you can either right click on here and go to add a part, for instance, like a torus, which will make a small handle, or you can make it separately. So you can right click on an empty spot, go to add primitive, go to torus, and I'm going to use the centering tool. So right click, center. I'm going to make this the same color, so we will make you white. I will right click, center, and we're going to rotate this 90 degrees on the x-axis. There we go. Now you can cut this if you want, but it's not the end of the world. Anything, again, that sinks below the build plate gets cut off anyway. But we will shrink this down a bit. So we use our scale tool, bring this down, and now we need to combine these two. So again, you can hold shift and select them both, or hold down control and click them both selected, right click, assemble. All right, and then we'll make sure we click on our torus, and we're just going to bring it down so we have a small handle. Cool. All right, so we will print this, and I will show you what it looks like on the other side. Now, the shape shouldn't matter when you're actually making these types of lids. So if we are using, let's say, a cylinder, and again, I'll make this 30 by 30. And I will, again, clone this. And we will flatten this one a bit. So scale. We'll bring this down to, bring it down to 5. And again, we'll make this a different color. And we'll start with the centering. So center, center, and we will shrink this down just a bit in the X and Y. So we'll do 25. Now, of course, the same rules applies, and this is where you can actually make other kinds of adjustments as well. So again, you can hollow this out. So we will make the Z height. Let's go with, actually, even before we make that, let's clone this for a moment. So that clone. Cool. And we're going to make the Z height of this one penetrate a little higher into this model. So again, 30 by 30, we will go up to about, we'll do 25. So again, selecting this one, scale, 25. And I'm just going to do a quick slice so you can see how deep it penetrates. Cool. We will then make that a negative. Oops, come on. Actually, it would help if we assemble first. I'm getting ahead of myself again. So make sure that you, of course, combine both pieces. So select, assemble. We'll make the inner part a negative. So that's right click, change type, negative part. And again, I'll do a quick slice so you'll get an idea of what it looks like from the inside. Good. And we're just going to right click and Mesh Boolean. And that will make a permanent change of hollowing that out. And we're just going to do the reverse. Instead of flipping this, since we already have an idea, we're just going to center this piece. And I'm going to make the white piece go a little bit further. So again, this is about 25. Let's go to scale. We will keep that at 5, and we will do this at to 28. 28. All right, so that part is good. And I am actually going to clone that lid here, so we know that's a good part. And we're going to turn these into an assembled piece. So highlight both, right click, assemble. And we're going to try to see if the Mesh Boolean works again. So there is an order of operations where the one at the bottom is the last one that's done. So if we take this one piece, which is actually the cylinder, and this piece, which is the white part, the lid, I'm going to move this up. So click it, and we want to make sure this is at the top. This is, I guess, in the next order. So we will right click on this, change type, and we'll change this to negative. And we're going to try again as far as just doing a right click, Mesh Boolean, and we'll see if we get the error. And we do, in which case it doesn't make the change. So we're just going to go back a step. So we'll just Control Z this. And that white piece is actually still there, but we need to click on this, and we will then go to Mesh Boolean, difference, select the top part, we will subtract the bottom part, and then we will hit, I'm going to say delete input, since we actually do have the other one. So normally when you do a Mesh Boolean, it creates the one piece, and I don't even think it made the change. You know, it could be because it's touching the build plate. Not the end of the world. We're just going to go back, Control Z this, do a quick slice. All right, we're going to leave this as a negative part. So let me go down a bit so you can see it. So the piece here with that lip, since it's just a negative part, the Boolean just makes it a permanent change. We're just going to leave it as an adjustable negative. All right, so I'm going to print this, and we're going to do something fancy here, which again we'll put on a, let's just shrink this down a bit. We'll actually put on a small handle. So we will do, let's drop this scale down slightly. So I'm going to drop it about 2 more percentage points. So we'll do 107. And I'll actually play around with this. If it's too loose, I'll make some adjustments off screen. And let's put a handle on this one as well. So we can right click, we can add a part. We'll then add a torus again. Now, since we added the part directly, just be careful, because sometimes if you, let's say if I right click on this torus, we go to rotate 90 degrees. It could affect this. So when this happens, you just want to make sure that one of these pieces is touching the ground. So if we move up our torus, this will snap down to the bottom. So one of these has to touch the bottom. All right, so we will move this over. Again, let's actually use the centering tool, because it makes things a lot easier. So that is the cylinder, center, this torus, center. We will bring you down, and we will adjust the scale. All right, so let's print this out and see what it looks like. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got. So, our cube. And I essentially made two different tops. So this is our 100% press fit. And nice part is it's flush. Takes a little bit of pressure to get that out. And I did make a 99%. And might be a little loose, but we'll see. Not so bad. All right, let's take a look at our other one. We'll start at 100%. And our 99%. All right, so looks like for this one in between 99 and 100, just to get it snug, but this is kind of loose. So play around with your settings, see what works out best. All right, now I know a few of you have been asking for this, so hopefully within the next few videos I will come out with something that would make sense. Questions, comments, concerns, anything for the good of the cause, please leave them down below. And thank you.